So we are live. So let me check a couple things here real quick. Double check audio. Well, I hear mouse clicking. All right. Okay, good. We got audio. Let me get over to here. Okay. Mr. Larry Gill, welcome. Had a hard and enjoyable hunt in September. So, hard and enjoyable are two things that are a good combination in September. So, I mean, we wouldn't want the other option, right? We wouldn't want it easy and miserable. So, we are 7:30. We have people tuned in. We have questions, so let's get going. So, good evening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wapiti Live Q&A. This is specifically for you herd members. This is an unlisted video. Nobody can find it unless they have access to the Patreon page. This is the only way that can see this stuff. So, we do have some new members. In fact, one of the new members actually, Delt Outdoors, submitted a question for tonight. So hopefully we'll be seeing Delt Outdoors chime in and join us. So if this is your first time, there's a couple of options you can do. If you're watching from a computer, you can actually click on the video. It'll actually open it up in a YouTube studio, and over on the right hand side you will have a chat. You can type in your questions, comments, whatever, and those pop up. I see those coming in live as we are streaming. Or if you're watching on your phone or a tablet, down underneath the video you'll see a little balloon icon. It's kind of in the center now. Patreon actually just kind of did an update, but it's in the center now. May say comments, but you click on that, it'll take you into another screen. You can write your comment at the bottom and post, and then up top hit the back arrow, and that will bring you back over into the video. So, all right, so this is the last live Q&A for 2021. So welcome everybody. And tonight I wanted to focus on you guys. Usually on these I pick the topics and we just kind of roll around, but tonight I just wanted to do viewer questions. And so we have 3 of them to start. Those of you that are tuning in, feel free to ask questions, and we will just kind of roll along as long as questions are still popping in. So it could be a short one, could be a long one, we'll see. So let's dive into it. So first one comes from Jay Colley, and he said, so this year he got to a place he wanted to call from and got set up. He put up a decoy and was just doing cow sounds and had a bull answer right back, did more cow sounds, and the bull bugled 3 more times and every time was closer. Then he caught moving about 50 yards out and the bull started to tear up a tree, so he did some soft cow sounds. He turned and was coming in. He got 25 yards and did a bugle towards the decoy and turned and started to walk to me. Stopped him at 15 yards for a shot. Awesome. Congratulations, Jay. Jay's question is, do decoys work all the time or half and half? So decoys can be a great addition to your calling setup, because basically, I mean, when we're calling, we're actually playing to the auditory sense of an elk. I mean, it's calling, it's sound, it's audio. They recognize that, and that's what gets their attention. Once they get close enough, now remember, you guys have heard me talk about this in the past, that a bull is going to go to a point where he thinks he should be able to see the elk that's making that sound. And you're going to see where he's going to stop and he's going to stare that direction, and his ears are also moving. So what he's doing is he's trying to get visual confirmation, and he's also moving his ears around to get more auditory, seeing, because if you don't have a decoy up, he's looking and he doesn't see that elk. So now he's listening. Is the elk? Did the elk move away? Can I hear it walking? Is it in another place? So if he can't see the elk and he can't hear the elk, this is when that bull is now going to circle downwind and he's going to use his nose to check that area. So decoys are a good addition because once he gets to that point and looks, now he sees an elk. Now there are a few cautions on this because basically that bull is going to want to make eye contact with that elk. And if you have a decoy with the head, he's going to try to lock eyes with it. And this is one of those things from a distance, he's going to just, stare and try to make eye contact. The hard part is all of a sudden he's going to know that something's not right because this elk that he's trying to make eye contact with is not blinking. They're not flicking their eyes. They're not moving. They're just frozen, staring at him. So that's why a lot of times the decoy that I really like is the Montana decoy rump. The reason being is that bull's only going to see the back end of that cow. He's not going to be able to make eye contact, which means he's going to have to continue coming closer to that elk to get that eye contact, which for you as the shooter, especially if you're hunting solo, is a great thing because that means you could have your decoy on past you and you rolled towards where that bull was coming in from before he got there. Means that bull is going to walk by you or closer to your shooting range, your effective shooting range. So do decoys work all the time? No, not necessarily. But they are a good tool to have, especially if you are hunting solo. 2-on-1 situations are better because you have a caller back behind you. The shooter is quiet, so the caller is going to pull that bull by the shooter. But when you're by yourself, you need a little bit of help, and that's where the decoy is going to come into play. And that Montana rump is very, very effective. So do I carry a decoy with me all the time? No, I don't. Do I use them? Yes, I do. Just not all the time. It's just like, so asking does a decoy work all the time is just like saying does a certain elk sound work all the time? No, it doesn't. Prime example, if you have a cow decoy, but you've been bugling and you've been playing to that aggressive aspect with a bull, this bull's charging in looking for that bull that's been bugling for him. He's not coming in looking for those cows. He's coming in looking for that bull to fight. So, hold on, guys. I got a sneeze coming. Dang it. There we go. Thank you. So, follow up. So, if you're going to use a decoy, it's effective in the cow scenario. Another applications, you can use a decoy. Midday setups, if you're sitting near a water source or a wallow, again, you can't be sitting right there and you want to draw their attention to something. So your calling is going to draw the attention to get them to come over and take a peek, but then that decoy is going to lock them in and bring them the rest of the way. Again, that rump. Now, the thing about that I do with my decoy is I don't carry the legs. I don't carry the sticks. I actually cut a couple of small holes on the top and I just put some paracord through there so that I could hang it on a bush, or I could hang it, snap a branch off of a tree and hang it on there. For me, it's quicker to put it out and set up. I don't have to worry about all the noise with the stick. It's less weight that I have to carry. It's pretty quick to deploy. So Jay, bottom line, does the decoy work all the time? No, it doesn't. It serves its purposes in the right time and can be a very, very highly effective tool. All right. Next question. Okay. So this one comes from Delt Outdoors. So, and they say, so I'm curious about what a bull did when I was in Idaho this year. I was going to a predetermined destination. As I was walking in the moonlight on a trail, the thermals were blowing downhill, which was perpendicular to me. A bull let out a short, no motion bugle 50 yards below me. I had not made any calls walking up the trail. The thermals were blowing to him. I could not get any more responses. Wondering if it was a type of a roundup bugle. I had an almost same exact encounter about 2 hours later, but never saw the bull either time. So there's a couple of things that could have happened here. One, since the thermals were blowing downhill, and I'm assuming, yeah, you said the thermals were blowing to him. So what could have happened is there could have been other elk down there with him. They could have been feeding down there, and when you walked up the trail, your thermals blew downhill, and maybe some cows caught your scent, and the cows took off, and that bull was actually bugling to them, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Where are you going?" And just to kind of snap at them real quick because they were taking off. That's scenario number one. Number two is, well let me expand on that further. What'll happen sometimes, and you'll hear this same situation, is midday, especially later in the rut where the bull's been up all night running, and then they go and they bed down for the day. The cows bed down, but that bull still spends quite a bit of time running around checking the cows, so he's still on his feet for quite a bit longer. Then he finally lays down. Well, middle of the day, the cows get up and start milling around. He's not ready to get up yet. He will bugle at them, telling them basically, "Hey, lay your butt back down. I'm not ready to move yet. Chill out." So that's kind of that scenario where it will, one, either be what happened here this morning where the cows took off and he doesn't know why, so he bugles at them real quick, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Or midday when the cows start milling and he's telling them, "Stay right here." Now, the second thing that could have happened is what he did. He may not have winded you, but he heard you walking on the trail, and he kind of gave you a type of bugle that basically is like, "Hey, what are you? Are you friend or are you foe?" You'll hear this sometimes, during the day when you're walking around, and it could be that a bull does, a little growl like that, or there's not a lot of emotion to it. It's pretty low, but basically he's just asking you, "What are you?" And you have a very, very short window to give an elk response. He's wanting to know, are you an elk or are you a predator? And that's why he's asking, "What are you?" If you produce just even a soft cow sound like that, will just let him know that you are an elk, which will hold him in place. But if you don't give any sound in that window when he's asking for a response, he's going to slip out the back door. Now, the hard part with this, and this is one thing that a lot of people will make a mistake, they hear, and what do? Instead of just a nice soft cow call, they hit him with this bugle. The problem is when you're that close to him, you scare him. He may not be agitated, he may not be in a fight mode, he may not be in an aggressive mode, and here all of a sudden you step into his back door where he's eating. He just ask a question, hey, who are you? And all of a sudden you rip this bugle of this steroid freak bodybuilder that's just there to kick his butt. And again, out the back door he's going to go, and you're not going to get any responses. So if you don't respond, he's going to slip out the back door and you won't get any more responses. If you bugle back with him too aggressive, good chance is out the back door he goes. Now, you might get lucky once in a while, and you hit him with that bugle, and man, he just screams. And I mean, less than 100 yards, it's not going to take long for him to cover ground and be right on top of you. The soft cow call is non-threatening. It's going to hold him, and it will allow you to work that bull and unlock the information that you need on what his mindset is. What type of bull are you working? What's his mindset? What kind of situation am I in? So that way you can adjust your calling scenario to the type of bull that you're calling to. Now, the other thing that can happen too, especially in this case where he was, 50 yards below you. Now, mind you, it was in the dark. You wouldn't be able to set up on this. But if this was early morning, if it was light, that close, you do a soft cow call. Even if it's later in the morning and you're walking through and a bull hits you with that, little bugle of, hey, what are you? And you soft cow call back, there's a chance that he may just come zooming right towards you. So as you're doing that soft cow, as you're doing that soft cow call, you better be knocking an arrow and getting yourself ready also. So, because things can happen really, really quick in that scenario. And I've learned that the hard way. Responded with cow calls, not thinking much of it, and the next thing you know, boom, he's there. I don't have an arrow knocked, nothing. I am not ready at all. It's just crazy how fast that stuff can happen. So, okay. All right. So there are two of the questions. Let me jump over here to the third one. Let me jump back over here to YouTube real quick. Larry, would like to see your abbreviated decoy if you have it available. Larry, I don't. It's down in the garage. I didn't even think about bringing it in on this, even though we were going to talk about decoys. So, Delta Outdoors, this is Joel. I just barely got on. Been busy wrapping presents. Joel, glad you could make it. Hopefully, Joel, you were on, because I actually just covered your question, your scenario. If not, Joel, it's okay. You always have access to go back and watch these. So if you didn't catch me reading your question and then talking about it, you can definitely, watch the replay and see what I had to say about that. All right, Mr. Jim. Had a cow tag this year, second choice, could not call any cow, couldn't find any. Did lost calf calls in many spots over an hour, no cows. Finally found a bull with cows, but could not pull a cow off. Moved in, but there was a private property involved, so could not get that close. What would be the way to work this? On a high note, I called in 6 big bulls, made the hunt. That is awesome, Jim. Sometimes it's just they just don't care. There's not something with calling that's going to work every time. If you did lost calf calls, for over an hour and nothing came in, switch it up. Try inviting cow routines. You might actually go into a breeding sequence, but try different things to see if you can elicit a response or elicit something to come in and check you out and take a look at you. The lost calf is effective, but it's not something that works every time. And lost calf for an hour, that's a pretty long time. I never really do lost calf more than 15-20 minutes. If nothing's come in, I'm going to go quiet for a while, and then I'm going to switch and work something else. It's just like you guys have heard me talk about, when you go fishing, you don't just take one thing. You don't just take one type of spinner, only one color. You take multiple different things and you try different colors, different types of spinners, just to see what's working that day. Now, the lost calf, and it's kind of funny. It can work one day and then the next day not. Something else may work. And unfortunately, there's days where there's nothing that works. We've all been there. We've all had those days that no matter what we do and no matter what we try, we can sit there, and I've heard from several people, and I've had this happen too, where get into elk, I can see them, I'm calling to them, I'm making sounds, they'll pick their head up a little bit and look at me. They don't care. They just keep doing what they're doing. They have their agenda, they have their deal, and it's just one of those things that until they decide to come, until the right thing is said, until everything's all in line, will they come. I wish that there was a magic button that works all the time. I've got a buddy that I fly fish with, and he has something that's called a slump buster. That it's a tie that, or it's a fly that he ties himself. It's not the prettiest thing out there, but he swears up and down that if he's tried everything else and not getting anything, he can tie on one of those slump busters and start catching fish. And I've seen it happen several times, and I keep asking him, why don't you just go with that all the time? And his response is because it doesn't work every time. And so I'm kind of like, so you have to go through everything else that you have in your fly box before you resort to that thing, and then it works? And his response was, yeah, pretty much. Larry Gill, next time. Yeah, actually what I may do on a future one, Larry, is bring in that rump decoy, show you guys how I set it up with that paracord, and then the other decoy that I use is the butt head from Native by Carlton. I use the butt head more in a 2-on-1 situation, just because it works good if you're back there as the caller, back behind the shooter, because it has a 3-dimensional head on it. And again, for that same reason that I talked about, where the bull wanting to lock eyes, it just seems to work a little bit better in a 2-on-1 scenario. Jim, I did do cow calls too, mixed it up a bit. Okay, so yeah, Jim, you just got in that time where just they had their own agenda, they had their own thing focusing on. It was like Liz's cow hunt. We were sitting there looking at cows, and I was calling to them and everything, and they just wanted nothing to do with us. They had their own agenda, and so it was unfortunately, it's one of those things that sometimes happen. And that could be too, Jim, I'm gonna circle back to Jay's question. That could be one of those things where adding a decoy in may help give that visual sense. So all right, so guys, that is all the questions that we had. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into since Larry's here, I have to cover a calling aspect, because I don't want Larry busting my chops. You guys have heard me talking about Larry busting my chops about Elk Calling Academy, so I got to cover something about calling here. But while I'm covering this, feel free to throw in any other questions that you have, or kind of expand. If I didn't answer one of your questions fully, you still have additional questions, throw those in right now. Let's kind of cover those. So, all right. So, Mr. Larry Gill. So tonight, for the calling, I'm not going to talk about any sounds, but what I want to do is cover something more. This is kind of a visual aspect for you guys so that you can kind of understand what I've talked about. In the first video in the calling tutorial series, I talk about finding a diaphragm reed that fits you the best, just like buying a shirt. And what we're talking about is finding a diaphragm reed that fits the palate, fits the roof of your mouth. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do to get started on this. You can take your thumb and you can take that and you can press it right up on the roof of your mouth, okay? And you can feel how the width of your thumb fits up in this section, okay? Because what I'm talking about, you guys have heard me talk about wide frames, medium frames, and narrow frames. And what I'm talking about is this metal horseshoe. They have wide, medium, and narrow. And this is why it's important, okay? This is a wide frame. This is a narrow frame. You can physically see the difference in the size of those frames and how those are going to fit in the roof of your mouth. So if we take this wide frame and we hold this up in the roof of your mouth where that diaphragm reed's going to go, you can see how that frame fits. Now you'll also notice that I'm not worried about the tape fitting inside. I'm focusing on the frame size and the fit. So this is where sticking that thumb up in the roof of your mouth, now you kind of know, okay, this is the width of my thumb. How wide of a frame do I need? And you can kind of see we're kind of even there. So again, this is a wide frame in this palette. Now watch what happens when I put this narrow frame up in here. Which one do you think fits better for this size palette? I mean, so many people try to fit the tape and everything all inside. You don't want to worry about the tape. It's the frame that you want. Now you can see how much smaller this is and trying to find that and how fine-tuned you have to be with your tongue on this. And the other thing too is look at how much latex area I have to play on this versus how much latex area I have to play on this one. So if you're a wider palette type person and you're really trying to go with a small frame, you have to have everything in the right place in order for it to seal, in order for you to get sound on it, which especially when you're first starting out can be really, really, really frustrating. There's not a big a difference between a wide and a medium, but still more latex area, less latex area. So again, another reason why I say use the widest frame that fits your mouth. You're going to get more latex area, which is actually going to give you more control. Now see, even if I put that medium one up here, notice too the tape. The tape is just going to come straight down on the inside of your teeth. That's not a problem. Again, it's that frame size that we want, because in reality, when we lay our tongue on this, the side ridges of the tape are going to help with sealing. Now, once you get more advanced, you get that muscle memory. You know how to use your tongue. You know how to lay it flat. So at that point, it really doesn't matter what size frame you use once you've become proficient with a diaphragm reed. But when first starting out, This is why it's critical to find the frame that fits you the best. Okay? So, hopefully that, because you guys have heard me talk about small, medium, and wide frames, but I've never done anything like this where I've held these up so that you can really see the difference of them and see how much of a difference it truly makes. And I've worked with a lot of students where once we got them into the right size frame, man, they really started making noise and they really started progressing and they were able to make sounds. And that's the biggest thing there. Once you start making sounds and then we start building off that block, then your progression is a lot faster. It's just getting you that right fit first for the air seal and also controlling your tongue. The other tip I'm going to give you is now with your tongue, placing your tongue on the reed. With that diaphragm reed in your mouth, where do you put your tongue? I talk to a lot of students about kind of curling the tip of the tongue down and laying it flat. Now, the one thing that you can do is you can take your tongue and you can go shh, shh, or press your tongue to the roof of your mouth like you're trying to flatten out a piece of gum on the roof of your mouth. While you're doing that, I want you to pay attention to the part of your tongue that is flexing up. For me, that's right about right there. Everybody's a little bit different. As you're pressing your tongue up to the roof of your mouth to flatten out that piece of bubble gum and you're paying attention to it, that is the part of your tongue that you have the most control of. That is the part of the tongue that you want to be running this diaphragm reed with. So that's why for me, I take my tongue and I roll it forward, push it forward. I don't move where this is in the roof of my mouth. I just push my tongue forward, or you may have to pull your tongue back to get that optimum spot of the tongue on the diaphragm reed, and that is going to give you maximum control. And that's what also is going to increase your effectiveness on calling for a diaphragm reed. Everybody's a little bit different. You just kind of got to play with it. So, all right, Joel. So another question from last year. I had a bull that would only growl when I bugled or cow called, but from the same location. I had a half hour of light. I ran towards the bull, but ran out of light. I located him the next morning, but same thing with the bull, but could never locate him. If there was only a little bit of light left and he's just hanging in the same spot, kind of sounds like he's not heading to his feeding area until after dark, or it could be that he already was in his feeding area. And the fact that he would only growl, I mean, some bulls are funny. Some bulls will only growl. Some bulls will only chuckle. It's just kind of one of those things. But the thing that you did right is if he stayed in the same place, and we'll do that too. That evening hunt, that last light, we always call it fast and furious. Especially if you got a bright moon night, since they don't really move until right at dark. If you can get something to pipe off, man, we do the same thing. We run right towards where they're at and cover that ground just so that we can get some sort of interaction while there still is light for a shot. But you did the right thing. Instead of staying where you were at waiting for him to come to you, you went to him, which that's a good move right there. And it's one of those things that sometimes the fact that he's answering, he's only growling, you may have to hit him 2, 3, 4 days in a row and catch him until you catch him in the right moment. We typically don't hit the same spot multiple days in a row. We like to work an area and then get out of there and come back in a couple of days later. And it may be that we have to, go into an area 2, 3, 4, 5 times before we finally get that bull in the right mindset, that we have an ability then to, work that bull and get a shot opportunity. So, let's see. Refresh. So, Joel, thanks for following up with another question. Let's see. Do we have anything over here? Nope, we got all those. So, Mr. Larry Gill, your coaching and calling were highly beneficial in calling in a bull this last season. Thank you, Larry. Thank you for following along, and that's awesome to hear. Love it when I hear from students that and all of you guys in here that go out and apply the things and have success and get those call-ins. So, Joel, I just want to make sure that there wasn't anything I missed on that last one. I located him the next morning, but same thing. Okay. But could never locate him. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're there. I'm not seeing any other questions pop in. So, yeah, I will definitely mark down decoys coming up. Had somebody message me earlier this week asking about the transition from here on the Patreon page over onto the actual elkcallingacademy.com. It's not going to happen until springtime. Reason being is I still have a few more videos to film, and I want to do those out in the woods. I have some setup scenario videos that I need to call or need to film. Also, kind of, you guys have heard me talk about using topography. I want to film a few more videos on using topography and give you guys examples of that. So it's probably going to be late spring before that launches, and so we got a little bit of time. So we're just going to stay right where we're at for now. And hopefully y'all are good with that. So I've noticed too here lately in the last couple, we've been having a lot more people tune in, which is awesome. So I do know it's not really the heat of elk season. It's kind of funny. We kind of see an increase in people as summer rolls along, and then October, end of October, kind of November time frame, we see a drop off, and then more people coming back in. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up for tonight. Appreciate all the questions. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in. I've actually played with the idea of one of these upcoming live Q&As. We might do kind of a private Zoom room chat where everybody can come on and have cameras and have a lot more interaction, face to face that way versus just, typing in questions on the keyboard. Let me know your thoughts on that. What do you guys think? Is that a good idea? Would you be interested in something like that? Playing with ideas to kind of freshen things up and do little different things next year. I do know earlier this year I brought a couple of guests on for some of these live Q&As. Definitely going to do more of that in 2022. I've already reached out to a few people, kind of talked to them a little bit, and they're definitely interested in coming on and chit-chatting with you. And you know what? I'm actually thinking that I might bring some of you guys in. Have you jump on one of these live Q&As to talk about, your journey, your struggles, how you've grown, things that you've learned, and just kind of tell your stories a little bit and have a conversation between, a couple of us about elk hunting. Might bring a panel on. Who knows? Lots of possibilities in 2022. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on tonight. Hey, I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Next one we do is going to switch over to 2022 or 22-01, so it'll be the first one for 2022. All right, guys. Larry, great idea. Interactive is great. Okay, perfect. Larry, thanks for the feedback. So, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Joel, I wouldn't mind doing something like that to learn some more about the Elkwoods. Okay, perfect, great. I appreciate. Remember, this is all for you guys. This is ways to help you guys learn, and gals. You know, we got both on here. Help all of you learn and help all of you advance and grow and increase that chances for success. But all right, as always, guys, keep calling, keep practicing. Most importantly, though, have fun. And we will see you guys in a couple of weeks on the next Wapiti Live Q&A. Have a great night, everybody.